Wait, who convinced me? My fucking... I've been chewing so much gum, but my fucking cat will, like, eat the fucking wrapper if I'm not careful. So I have to, like, always make sure that I keep it, like, right on my desk so I can, like, throw it out right after. Kovaaks is so funny. I actually really want to make, like, a video on it on YouTube. Like, explaining how stupid kovaaks culture is. What the fuck is this thing doing? Like, bro, pick something to do. I'm using the, what do you call it? G Pro Wireless, the super light, the new one. But, I mean, I tried the ZA12. I tried that a long ass time ago, actually. Like, that was my first mouse review, actually. It was always ZA12. It was alright. I think I'm a little bit too spoiled now by light mice, though. I can't really go to something as heavy as those mice. It has to be like sub 80 grams, like 80 grams or less for me to not notice. But it's like, I don't have a playlist. I just like learn of different like scenarios every day, and then I just try it out. I don't know. Like, kovaaks is like cool, but you really have to like commit yourself to like grinding leaderboards if that's really what you want to do. But it's like best in kovaaks really to just like, I mean, if you're using it for like a specific reason, I guess. Like if you're using it to try to actually get better at a specific game and not just kovaaks itself, you should like really just like not even pay attention to like the settings that you're using or whatever, or like these people on like the scoreboard or something. Like I can go to this guy, I clicked on this guy's profile, I went to his profile. In his Steam profile, he says he uses 20 centimeters per 360. Like, what a pointlessly high... Like, you can play, like, one game without sensitivity, and it's, like, TF2. Without, like, finding diminishing returns with it. But, like, in a mode like this, it's actually super valuable to have that. You know? So it's, like, pointless for me to, like... For anyone, really, to, like, look at the scoreboard and be like... I need to cater, you know, my sensitivity in every game I play to whatever one gives me the best score in this mode or something, you know? It's, like, pointless. 4.5 800. Yeah, so it's like pointless to like yeah, I mean, you could get away with it for sure, but it's like, I don't know. It's like very, very pointless to like go into like, to go into like kovaaks and be like, okay, well, This is like a little bit too fast for me. So let me just jack my sense up to like 6.6, you know? And it's like, I'll be really bad for a while, but I can already just tell, like using this, like how much easier it is. Like look at how much easier it is for me to like transition to this thing over my head. You know, all it would take is me like grinding it out like for like the little micro movements for it to like actually pay off. But I can already tell like how much easier it is to keep track of this thing. But like, it's absolutely pointless to be like, oh, let me just use that now because that just is clearly better. It's like way better to just like take like a specific setting that you're interested in using in a game, play kovaaks, and then just compare your own score over and over and over again with that specific setting. So it's like doing something like this, like changing it a bunch of times to like cater to the scenario, is like effectively pretty pointless. I mean, like at a certain point, like, I mean, like I'm 77, right? Like, which is like a pretty good score. Like it's 99th percentile. I could climb the ranks by like adjusting sense a little bit, probably. But at the same time, I could also, like, if I were like, I don't know, rank 4,000, I can obviously, I have like a lot of room to improve regardless of like whatever settings I use. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. It's like 55 FOV on like, you know, like the thin gauntlet or whatever, you know? It's like absolutely pointless. But if you're like rank like 4,000, no matter what sense you use, you could always get better with it. You know what I mean? You could literally use, I could use 0.28 in Valorant or something, which is like really, really low. And I would still like get a higher score than like rank 4,000. You know what I mean? Despite it being really low. Because it's just like my overall like, you know, skill level or whatever is higher than that rank. So it's like only like once you start to get to like the really, really, really high like ranks or whatever, where like you really do have to like cater your sense to like beat certain people or climb the leaderboard, does it really start to be like absolutely pointless. But like if like I used a sensitivity like this in Valorant, like let's say I was like one of the best players in the game or something, and I was on like a pro team, and like my sense in Valorant was like 0.28 800, which is like not even really that low, to be honest. I mean, like it's probably on the lower end of average in that game. For this, it's like definitely really hard. You're gonna get like absolutely you're gonna get limited a lot by that in this mode, because like the amount of times you have to pick up your mouse, like you're just gonna lose out on time, like, you know, being able to track this thing. But if you played this with that sensitivity and just looked at your own score and then just compared it to your own score and try to get better and better and better, like that's super high value, because like that's teaching you like different parts of your mouse pad, like different positions your arms in when you're tracking it, because you still have to like use a lot of the mouse pad, you know, regardless of like how low your sense is. Like you're gonna pick it up more, but you're gonna be like using like the top right part of your mouse pad, you know. And that's like so foreign to me right now, like I can't even like aim, you know. So it's like it's super valuable. You get like faster at picking up your mouse and resetting it. It's just like not useful at all to like chase the leaderboard in that situation. You're just trying to get better for like Valorant's sake or something, you know. You saw Sugar in an Overwatch lobby? Oh, Tryhard? Yeah, he plays still. He I mean, he does coaching stuff with like Wizard. Um but he tries to like be decent at the game still as well. Because he doesn't want to like never play and then coach. It's just like, especially because like, I mean, I'm sure whatever he's doing comes from like the perspective of somebody who's like a good like aimer or whatever. Like there's like different types of coaches in esports. Like Wizard, for example, is just like a really good, he's not only like a really good like statistician type person. He's just like, very like intelligent with like decision making, like macro game, micro game, but he's not like a really good FPS player. So it's like you just like have to, like, if you have like a coaching organization put together, you're gonna have a bunch of different people who are good at different things. which is really what I wanted to do in Overwatch coaching when I was on the Outlaws, but we just didn't have like the staff large enough to do it. So it was like me trying to like min-max my team's goats. And I was like, I literally don't care about any of this. I'm way more interested in like the micro of like a DPS player and like his weaknesses and strengths, and like trying to coach that out of somebody or like make somebody better in that respect than like I give a shit about, you know, whether or not we should have bubbled our Brig on that engage or our fucking Reinhardt or something. Like, I literally don't care, you know, but like that was just what Blizzard forced us to care about for an entire year. So it was pretty cool. Just truly an impossible thing for Blizzard to do. Balance the game. Randomizer, yeah, I've never tried randomizer. I kind of just like do it on my own, which isn't really random, but I've always like gone through like different set like sensitivities and stuff and just like messed around with them, and you can really tell like right upon switching how much more engaged you are. But I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's value. Like it's whoever like went into the data of the randomizer definitely has thought more about it from a scientific standpoint than I ever have. So yeah, 222 is definitely way better. It's just they should have done it. The only reason 222 has the illusion of being worse or bad or whatever um, is just because the entire game was run at like, you know, XYZ for like the entire history of the game. So it's like you can't expect the balance of the heroes that were under that environment to now be balanced in like a 222 environment. It's just like, you know, just stupid. I could never coach you, Monkey. You're literally not good enough. Like literally every hero in the game was like created and balanced around the idea that it was like an XYZ format and not 222. So this mode is just super valuable for like being able to use different parts of your mouse pad and like being able to like use the very edge of your mouse pad for like all those like edge cases. I'm using 0.47 Valorant Sense. Yeah, I heard like I've been watching Muma play a little bit of Overwatch. Like I was like completely out of the like meta for the game. Like I had no idea what was being run, and then like apparently it was just like a lot of like rush, and then they buffed May. Like doesn't that just make it worse? They literally just don't understand. Like that's really like the biggest issue, and it always has been, is they do not understand their game. Like they don't understand like what changing the values does for them at all. You know what I mean? It reminds me of goats actually. When they were trying to get rid of goats by not like before they implemented the 2G2, they were trying to like change Brig. Like they nerfed Brig at one point, and the Brig nerf was just it changed the ability to like bash through the shield, and the bash did like 5 damage instead of 50. And it's like, okay, so you made it so that Brig can't one-shot Tracer, who was never run anyway, and still won't be run because you can't attack a Brig regardless, whether you're left at 1 HP or you're dead. You're effectively dead anyway because you have to like run away. Um, and you just made it so that like you had to do like different bubble plays and stuff because you couldn't just straight bash through the Run Shield. It changed like literally nothing about the actual composition of goods. Like there was no change to the heals. There's no change to just how much value the stun is itself. Like it's just crazy amounts of value. It's just like they don't understand their own game, and it's been the same thing the whole entire time. And that's not even like they didn't have people around them to like give suggestions. Like they would literally come to the pro players and ask us like what we could do. They would go to like pro teams, be like, hey, how do you feel about the meta? Things you'd like changed? People would be like, oh, specifically this. And then like it would just never change. Bad idea, I think. We're just gonna change Briggs bash damage. Okay. I don't know. Let me check. I'm using. Wait, what? Shouldn't it be in here? Where is it? Is it? Am I dumb? Neither of these things are what I'm looking at. It's under weapons? Oh, it's under weapons. Body shot 6. Didn't Mendo have a specific example of one of his recommended changes taking like a year to be implemented? I mean, the fact that it even got implemented is the noteworthy part of that, because there were so many things that people have said that either didn't get implemented or took a million years to get implemented. Like, I'm not kidding. When we played closed beta in October 2015 of Overwatch, we were playing on Gibraltar with the sun literally blinding us, getting forward spawns and getting run the fuck over because you can't back spawn. And we were like, can you please change these things? It's like ridiculous. Like, how do you not have back spawning? And they still don't have back spawning. And the sun is still in your eyes on that map the entire time. It's just amazing, truly. Oh. See how the hyperskip's life, one of the last patches, showed the existence of aim assist on mouse and keyboard. Yeah, I did see that actually. They like added aim assist to mouse and keyboard, right? Because they couldn't figure out how to balance it. It's like it's literally it's so obvious that these things are going to happen. Like you try to balance a human being using a mouse and keyboard without an aimbot and a program aim locking onto an enemy player. And when it never works, people are like, fuck, man. How did this happen? We got to do something. Like, how are we going to fix it? It's like, dude, newsflash, it's fucking impossible. Like, what the fuck? Like, this isn't that hard, man. It's not that hard to understand. I think I did that already with the NVIDIA reflex. Although maybe not, actually. I don't know. But I don't know. It's just like kind of crazy. Like the things I've wanted changed in Overwatch since like I started playing the game is ridiculous. Like I think backspawning is the most obvious example of it. It's absolutely unacceptable that like you can get a bad spawn on Gibraltar on defense and either have to run at them on the cart like between first and second, or quite literally jump off the cliff on last because you got a forward spawn. And it's like, dude, TF2 literally fixed this issue on release. Like, you could just change heroes. And like, sure, you can't do that in Overwatch because you're going to mess with ults, but it's like a futuristic universe. All you have to do is like add a little voice line said by a robot or some shit that opens like a little portal, and it's like back spawning or like teleport to new spawn available for like, and then just the amount of seconds. And then if you don't get in there, it closes and you have to run out and fight or something. Like anything. I literally thought that up just now. It's so easy to like implement these changes that would just raise the quality of life of the game, and they've just never done it. So I don't know. It's just crazy. Yeah, I mean, you can literally use the SimTP. It's literally a character in the game, you know? Like, it's just so dumb. I should voice that robot. I honestly should. You guys ever like realize how much worse like your aim gets when you talk? Like, kind of crazy, isn't it? Like, it doesn't even matter if like you're using like a push to talk or anything. It just gets worse because you can't allocate as many resources. It's pretty crazy. Why is there no like decent crosshair customization? Because they gave like, dude, they just gave up on the game like a very long time ago. I feel like they gave up on making any actual changes to the game that like an FPS player would enjoy. And all they've done nothing actually, to be honest. They haven't even done like just basic content like battle passes or something, you know? It's been like the same content for the past like however many years, like whatever Siegel said on that video he made. It's like just like where is the content? So I don't know what the fuck. I mean, I guess it was all time spent on Overwatch 2, but at that point, it better be fucking good. I get like really good. I always like choke at a random part of these. What the fuck? This thing juked the fuck out of me. I mean, it's like just a healthy medium. Like, I mean, if you can add a crosshair, like custom crosshair maker, like that's good. But at the same time, it's like Diaboticals is like extremely like there's so much that you can do with it that I would never use it for. So it's like very like huge edge cases where like somebody wants to put like a rectangle on top of a circle on top of a triangle for some reason, you know, and like you can only do that in Diabolical, which is like great. I mean, like that's cool and everything, but anything more than what they have would be nice. Like just being able to specifically change. So, because I feel like the Overwatch crossers aren't that bad, but they're also not that good. So it's the same with Valorant. I think they're kind of like a little bit too uncustomizable. You have to kind of do like funky things, especially with Valorant's crosshairs, to like get a certain thing. Like to get like a black dot, you have to do something like funky, where you like add outline to a dot and then you take the opacity of the dot away, so it's just like a square with like a little dot in the middle, like a little missing texture. Default shotgun crosshair from TF2. Honestly, if I went back and I played that game, I probably wouldn't use that anymore. I would just use like a dot or something. A dot or like a plus. TF2's crosshairs are actually some of the worst, to be honest. Because you can't, like, they all just look like shit. You can't add outlines. Like, the CS looking crosshair in TF2 is just quite literally, like, unusable. It's, like, awful. Like, the opacity is all fucked up. There's no outline, so it just blends into everything. It's literally awful. Yeah, I mean, small crosshairs are really good, generally speaking. Because even if you think you're doing worse, you're probably not. I think a lot of, like, big crosshair usage is just, like, placebo. It's like you think you're hitting, and for the most part, you kind of are. But there's, like, little fringe cases where you can't tell if you're on somebody or not. You just notice your imperfections a lot more with, like, smaller crosshairs. Things are really gonna jump over my head, huh? Uh-huh, yeah, do that again. Oh, I know, the shotgun thing on Valorant is so stupid. I just don't understand, man. They had to go out of their way to do that, like as if it's like a nerf to the shotguns. It's like, why don't you just let everybody pick whatever crosshair they want for shotguns and then just balance them accordingly, instead of like giving me like a Roadhog crosshair or something every time I switch. It's so awful. Dude, why are TF2 players so weird, man? They love their game so much. I swear to God, I've never seen a group of people stubbornly play the same game for longer than I've seen TF2 players play their game. Just like a whole new level of like stubbornness that's just unseen in the rest of the world. They definitely should it. TF2 is an absolutely fucking atrocious game. The reason you play it is because you made it's like the perfect situation for you, and because you can customize it as you will, or the community was able to customize it as they wanted, it's playable. Otherwise, it's just like the worst game ever. There's literally a class in TF2 that sits and heals you the entire time. Like, wow, dude, cool class. Cool class that you have to literally run in every single TF2 game ever. That's dope. Really, dude? Is really gonna fuck my score by jumping over my head at the end? Really? That's just awful, man. No, I mean, I agree. I think like TF2 has like really sick like individual mechanics. Like I think the movement's really fun, the aiming's really fun, but it is certainly just a dog shit game like overall. But I agree. Like I think that's the only thing that's kept people playing TF2 is just like the fun aspect of the movement. It's like Quake, just better. It just feels way better. You have source movement and you don't have to worry about like strafe jumping everywhere. But like I've always like been really into like that's the only reason I even play TF2 competitively is because I thought like Scout was really fun and like getting better and better at Scout was extremely rewarding. Um, but the game itself, like I quite literally, like no other game I've ever played competitively have I been as bored as I've been in TF2. Like in Overwatch, like the movement or the pace of the game is like so much faster. You always have to be thinking about something else. It's like, who the fuck has ults? When are they gonna push? Holy shit, I can get one shot from across the map if I stand here. Holy fuck, got hit by a Hanzo arrow. I gotta go get like, health right now or I'm gonna die, or somebody heal me, or like there's constant action going on, like literally constantly. Same shit with like Valorant. It's like, okay, somebody used a piece of intel over here. Like, do I want to walk through this door and like take more intel down like long B or something? If I peek, I might die, but if I peek and nothing's there, I get info. Like, what should I do? Like, holy shit, they just used an ability here. I have to shoot the Sova dart. It's like there's so much shit going on. In TF2, you're literally standing at a fucking choke, just waiting for somebody to get bored and jump in. And it's so fucking bad, man. I just don't understand. Like, I've never been less bored. If I wasn't as good as I was at TF2, I probably would have quit like a very long time ago, because the game is literally not fun. The only reason I made the game fun for myself is because I was good enough to run through the flank and like two-shot a scout or like kill the soldier and actually get the game moving. Like, which is why I had so many deaths all the fucking time, is because I just constantly ran in on the flank, because I was like, this shit is so boring. And there's no way for us to put, like, if we're on second and they're on mid, if we push, we're just highly disadvantaged. So, like, what the fuck am I going to do? Either they decide to push in, they decide to send a sack, or we're fucked. So it's just like, I just ran in through the flank and fought people, and that was the only thing that made TF2 fun for me. Otherwise, it just sucks. Like, really, it's awful. Skinny Bane, thanks for the sub. I mean, you really should exclusively feed. Like, if you're not exclusively feeding in TF2, I literally don't know what you're doing, because you're just not playing the game. You're just shooting rockets into a choke until like you have to go get ammo, and you hope that they don't push in the same interval that you're getting ammo or something. It's like super unfun. Or you're just like it's even worse on Scout actually, because you're just shooting long range scatter guns and pistoling people, just completely ineffective damage that you have to do because it just like standardizes your damage stats. It's just like so awful, actually just terrible. But then like, of the same token, uh the idea that you have to feed is like just the dumbest game design ever. Like, it's not like the worst thing ever to have someone that needs to like get aggressive to like open the doorway for somebody, or like create an opportunity for somebody on their team or themselves. But it is really stupid to have that just be the dumbest. You're just jumping in on soldier, finding a jump route so you can just land on a medic's head to try to drop them. And the medic's just standing there with no weapons to defend himself. He's just sitting with his medigun out, healing somebody, hoping that he can surf the rocket. It's like the dumbest thing ever. And like, I think it's a testament to how like poorly the rest of the game is balanced, like especially around medic and demo man, that like causes that to be so necessary. Like, it's just so bad. It's just awful. Because it especially creates like a lot of dead time. Even if you sack, if you're on like mid and you like send a soldier into sack to try to pop them, like a lot of the time they still can't push off that. Like, especially like if you get the pop, you're fucked, or they're fucked. But a lot of the time they can't even like push that well off of that. Like, you're still clogging all the chokes. You have like a demo man with like stickies on like literally all the important chokes in the game. It's like, it's just bad. I'm on 0.47, Kevin. Or like 1.5, I guess, source. Bro, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Mwazla? I'm just gonna, I don't know. I'm gonna pretend the X's are Z's. Regardless, if that's what you got out of what I just said, then you just simply don't think about games as deeply as I do. It's like, if your way of like summarizing everything I said was, if you don't like it, that doesn't mean it's bad, then like you should absolutely stay like away from all forms of game design, because it runs so much deeper than that. Like, There's a reason the game does not have a lot of spectators or a lot of players. And like part of that is Valve, but it's also, I absolutely assure you that current TF2 would not thrive in a current spectators, like in a current esports realm where like people are watching. It's just an impossible to watch game. It's just the slowest, spammiest, feediest shit ever. It's like just, it's not, there's a reason why they did it the way, I mean, I am listing 5CP problems. I agree with that. Like if there were like a different game mode, like if payload were like good and the maps were better, it would be possible. You'd have to like change a lot of the classes, but 100% the way like 5CP works is dog shit. There's a reason why like Overwatch changed it to like did pretty much exclusively some form of payload and capture the point or cough. And lo and behold, 2CP has been the absolute worst thing in Overwatch. It's just dog shit. I mean, cough is good. Cough sort of runs into like very similar like annoying problems though, where you're just like kind of feeding into them. Like the classic was you leave your medic in spawn and 5 people go sack somewhere. It's just like, I don't know. It's just like a really fringe, weird strategy that like just isn't like, I don't know. It's just kind of dumb. Like there's definitely way better ways, and you'll never find a game like that again. Like no one's gonna be like, oh, we should make TF3. Like if Valve made TF3 right now, it would look nothing like current TF2. It'd be like a class-based, like ability-based game or something. It would be like Overwatch with hopefully more like versatility in your own movement. But it would be nothing like current TF2. Like even Valve understands like if you were gonna make that like an esport, like everything would have to change, which is probably why they never even like put that much time into it, and they never like really wanted the game to be an esport because it's like way riskier than just like leaving it be like this crazy pub game where you just get millions of dollars off of microtransactions in the market. Like that's way more reliable than just trying to turn it into an esport. You'd have to change everything about the game, like fucking everything. I always felt that a big problem with Overwatch was that heals build ults. I think my biggest issue with Overwatch was always that the ults are way too fucking strong. They're way too strong for like just effectively zero skill required to use them. At least at like a moderate skill level. Like obviously when you get to the top of the game, ults are so powerful that if you don't use them perfectly, then you're feeding. Like for example, like in, I don't know, mid-level Overwatch, getting like a 2-man grab is like, fuck it, you know, like we got them, and then you just roll them, kill them, and then you win. But like in a pro game, like getting 2 people in a black hole, if it's like Rhine and Brig, is like you're feeding. Like that's just awful. Sick grab, bro, you know, like it's just the min-maxing of like the super overpowered ults is just awful. And I agree, shields are dog shit. Shields are really bad, especially considering like that once you have a shield, like that's your entire role in the game is just to use the shield. Like that is like not fun. Like at least make it something like Gibraltar. Wait, that is the Apex Legends hero name, right? That's so weird. Because that's a fucking Overwatch map. But like at least make it like Gibby in Apex. That was a mindfuck. What the fuck? I never even put those two together. Yeah, shields are definitely whack as fuck. I agree. But one thing that like Overwatch did do that makes people have, I think, more fun is like the Zoomers don't like these, I don't know, like shotgun, like tracking based weapons. Like I would always consider like a scattergun to really be like a tracking based weapon, even though it's like obviously not, because it doesn't like 2-shot you or 1-shot you or anything really, unless it's like a very specific case. So you're like constantly trying to do like mid-range damage with a scattergun. where like the time to kill is like extremely long, and Zoomers just don't like that shit. Like they like fucking, they like revolvers that like two shot you across the map. You know what I mean? Like, and like there's a reason for that. Like they like to have their own. Like to get a kill in TF2, you need to be like so aware of everything. It's like I should push now. Fucking like I need to, shoot this specific person because he's getting focus fired or whatever. Like in Overwatch, you can literally just two shot somebody, or you can one shot somebody on Widow, or like whatever it is. Like you just get super, you get super value out of being a good player, which is what the Zoomers really like. What's up, Timmy? But yeah, I mean, like the lowest you can go with time to, dude, this thing is just on my head. The lowest you can go with like time to kill is like the best for like popularity and like new players and stuff. So obviously you get like a lot of kills that you wouldn't normally get if the time to kill were longer. Gives people some influence over their own life. Whereas in like TF2, like if you're a bad soldier, you're literally like never gonna kill a really good scout. Even if you're getting pocketed, it's just gonna be like, as long as that scout has heals, you're just dead. Yeah, I mean, healers are pretty crazy in Overwatch. Like, it's always been a questionable thing to me as well. It's how quickly like you can get healed back up to full health. They did something good and then questionably something bad with the healers in Overwatch. Like healers not being medic from TF2, where you just sit there with a medigun just healing, is a really cool idea, and it's good. Like being able to like be a really good player on Ana and change the game by shooting something well is a really good addition. But then like your healing is also so absurdly fast. Overwatch was a slower game early on when people didn't understand what was overpowered. Then when tracer mobility was not overpowered for the longest time, Blizzard made Brig, and that's when shields became a massive problem. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. I still remember like how different Overwatch was in like closed beta. It was so different. I remember I remember before Hero Limits how unfun Koth was. Because it was just double Tracer, double Winston, double Lucio, and it's just shit fucking flying everywhere. And I was like, it just felt so awful. You couldn't like kill anything. You just had to like wait until Winston made like a bad play, and then you could just like focus fire him down. Yeah, 1k shields too. Yeah, oh my god, Winston shield is so overpowered. Do you think it's harder to learn to track than it is to flick people's heads? I mean, just like it depends on what the game is. I mean, like in a low time to kill game, it's always going to be like quote unquote easier as like a new player to be able to like just kill somebody with one bullet. Like in any like I don't know, in like a Quake LG duel or like in a game like this, like the better you are, like the longer it takes to kill the target, the more time the better player can like like show his dominance over like the worst player, because you just can hit more shots and they have to just get extremely lucky for a longer period of time to actually get the kill, which is like super like It's just very unlikely. Whereas in Valorant, like you could just walk out and be like, oh, got him, you know? And you're like, oh shit. Like I've literally had kills like that where like I'm just like, what the fuck did I just shoot at? And I just one-shot them. Dude, these things, this is a race car. When this bot goes like this, it is a literal race car. When it gets close to you and it just circle strafes you, it's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do against that? Yeah, in low time to kill, you have less time to be bad. Exactly. A much faster way of explaining. When TF3, I don't know, man. TF3 on the diabolical engine, huh? I'd perfectly tracked that. It would have been a really good run. Yeah, I saw some of the surfing in Diabolical. I tried like one map and it was okay. It was a little bit weird. Like you had to like enter your own value for air excel. And then like some of like the ramps, it was probably just the way that they made the walls in the map, but it just felt really weird. Like I kept hitting into invisible walls and like being unable to surf off. It's hard to like really beat like CSGO or CS Source or TF2 for surfing, but it's cool. It's definitely cool. Sirius is really good, yeah. At LG for sure. It's really different though. I think I can really always tell people who like learned just tracking based off of Quake compared to people who just did it through like something like TF2. Because the movement in TF2 is way more like you have, it's like Quake World movement, so you have so much more influence over where you want to go in the air, just hitting strafe keys. So you wind up like strafing things or aiming at things laterally a lot more, like just sort of using your mouse to make a last minute adjustment to somebody strafing in a certain direction in the air. Whereas with like Quake, it's much harder to make, at least Quake Live, like without CPM physics or whatever, it's much harder to make that change in movement. So like once you know somebody's going a certain way, if you're a good player, you just kind of stick them to walls. This is why like the LG is so overpowered in so many situations, because you like suss out people's movement, and then once you know where they're gonna go, you just like track them like 90 LG, and then they just get stuck to a wall and they die. There's really like none of that in TF2 unless you're like a really good player or they have just dog shit movement. Or I mean, I guess they do have that in Quake Champions because every hero has a different, or every champion has a different like movement physics. But there's something about Quake Champions that makes the tracking in that game just like stupidly easy. I remember like LGing in that game when it first came out, and I was like, I can't tell if this is like serious. It really felt like they added like an aimbot into my game for me. Like I just literally couldn't miss. I don't know if that was just like a bug or what, but and also, I mean, I've said that before in regards to like Diabolical versus Quake. Like in Diabolical, the LG is much more tracking oriented, which is, I feel like in Quake, My LG was always pretty good, but there were like people who had really good LG in Quake, probably like better than me because they can just, I mean, like at least in like an LG duel, because they can like they know the movement so much better and they can get that right amount of like stickage because like in Quake, if you're hitting, let's say you're hitting like 50% LG, but 50 of it is 100% LG and 0% of it is the other 50% versus like being on and off with 50%, like the former is a million times better in Quake because like once you're hitting that like brief moment of 100 LG, you just like use your movement to position yourself so that like that LG becomes just like 100 because you can stick people and the movement influence is like so much, you have so much pushback. In Diabolical, there's so much less of it. So in Diabolical, it feels like the LG is like a lot more aiming because you actually have to like just constantly track them. There's no time where like your LG through hitting a lucky 2 seconds of 99 LG or something just pins them in a certain direction and you can like use your positioning to continue that. It's a lot different, which is why I felt like my LG was a lot better in Diabolical compared to other people than it was in Quake. Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of no knockback on LG. It's just it didn't do enough damage. If you're gonna like lower the knockback, you have to raise the damage, and if you're gonna raise the damage, you have to lower the knockback. I thought it was okay though. I mean, it was in an okay spot at the end. It's just I think rockets were just a little bit too good. They just sent you flying in ways you like could never imagine. I mean, rockets are always going to be extremely OP, I think, in Quake games, just because you have, like, again, no agency over your movement. So if you're hit with a rocket, you just get fucked. And if the other person is good with rockets, they can hit, like, just 3 quick directs on you and you die. Or, like, you know, 4 really good rockets on you and you die. The whole time being unable to aim because you can't, like, recover your movement. The Quakers love that, though. I don't know why. Race car, man. But I'm really interested just from like a game design standpoint, like what a hero shooter would be like with a lot of the Overwatch isms taken out. Like it would be really hard to balance. Like you have to be really good at balancing, I think, to make everything work well. So we'll see, I guess, if that is something that they're making on the Diabolical engine. We'll see how that fares. How sad Valorant map design is. Yeah, I don't really like it. It's super simplistic. I mean, they do it for like ability purposes. Like you need a bunch of LOS breaks so you can use abilities to take ground that you wouldn't need to take in something like CS. So that's why like every single time there's just, you know, some tangent hallway that breaks off your line of sight and you're like, oh, I have to use a drone to get through this because someone could be around the corner with a shotgun, or like, oh, like let me flash around the corner because I don't know who's going to be there, and let me flash around the next corner in 2.5 feet because I don't know who's going to be there. Like they do it for ability purposes, but it makes for a very like boring experience a lot of the time. I agree though. I hate it. Icebox a lot. Really hate that map. Don't like it at all. Ingots. Yeah, I never played Ingots. You playing anything competitive? I was scrimming Valorant for a while, and then like just my team, like most teams do that are not sponsored, just kind of broke up because someone stopped, like someone had to stop competing, and then like we were like, okay, well, what are we gonna do? I haven't really played too much competitively since then though. It's like maybe a couple weeks ago. You know how it is. Something I very much don't miss from like tier 2 of any esport. It's just like having teams like die constantly because people are just like, I can't play anymore, or like, oh, I can't do this anymore. You're like, okay, well, what's the game plan? Oh my god. I love hitting like a really high percentage on these things. It's very satisfying. Add monkey? Yeah, no, definitely not. Definitely not. Yeah, it's it was all done on purpose. I actually hate daylight savings so much, man. I hate that it's like 3:30 right now for literally no reason. Why are you doing this, man? What did I do to you? Fucking asshole. It's so annoying because it's like, this is like real time. That's the dumbest thing. Is that like, it's not even like you hate daylight savings because it gives you an extra hour and then they take it away. And it's like, dude, like just like why? What is like a good reason in today's modern society to have the changing of the clocks? Like, is there any reason at all? I've heard like differing reasons on why it was created. I've heard farmers, and then I heard that was like actually not true. So I don't really know. I'm sure there's like some complicated history about it, but it's just absolutely so pointless. Like, I just don't get it. It's fucking legislators all over the United States just trying to ban abortion instead of getting rid of my daylight savings time bullshit. Like, what the fuck are you doing with your life? Yeah, carpal tunnel from the TF2 days. Oof, that's yeah. I never really had many issues, luckily. this is gonna sound like I'm not a doctor, so I have no idea like what I did. But I think a healthy amount of like physical activity and even like working out is pretty important. Like just strengthening your wrist and like your forearms and like giving it like good like stress to like, you know, to keep it from not being to keep it from only moving mice all day. Like I think is actually really important. At least like that's always how I felt, is like just having some amount of like wrist strength while you can still get it is important. Obviously, if you have like really bad carpal tunnel, it's hard to like work out. So it's like, you know, I don't think Arizona's ever participated, have they? Like, I feel like they haven't been participating for a long time. I remember that because Mackie was on my TF2 team and he lived in Arizona, and it never changed for him. No, I mean, I never really hurt anything. Like, I pretty much never, I can't even think of a time where moving left and right with a mouse ever hurt my wrist. Um, there were times when like I probably slept on my wrist or something. Like I would wake up and I'm like, oh fuck, my wrist hurts, you know. Um, but it would never hurt when I was like actually playing a game. Um, it only hurt like if I had to like put like a lot of pressure on it or something. Uh, so I've never had like any like my body has never been like, dude, stop with this mouse shit, please. Like that's never really happened to me. There were times where I've definitely like slept on my wrist wrong though, or like just, you know, some amount of like lifting something heavy like improperly or whatever like hurt it. It's also probably like a sensitivity thing. Like I think like some super high sense where you have to have your wrist super tight and tense all the time is probably not very good for you. Thoughts on really small mice like the Viper Mini? I don't really. I feel like my hand is too big to use the Viper Mini well. So I don't know. I think it just really depends on your hand size. Like the G Pro wireless is like fine for my hand. Like this is like the size of a mouse like that I would prefer. I think generally. Yeah, I mean like pretty much any like that's like so like if you like aim like really like if you have like really high sense, you're like super tense all the time when you're aiming. Like even like every time you're done aiming, just go like just going like that or something, or like you know taking your hand off the mouse and like going like this and like just giving yourself a break is probably like really important. Especially because like a lot of people who do that like hold their freaking mouse like this or something like some weird grip that's like giving even more tension for no reason. So like just like taking your hand off your mouse probably and just moving it around and like you know whatever. It's probably advisable. I don't know. I don't know app I have the best control ever. I think I've always had pretty good fine motor control. Or like at the very least like very steady hands. probably like a big part of it. I've seen a lot of people that just like naturally have like much less steady hands, so I would imagine in that situation you probably would have to lower your sense. I have very nice handwriting, skis. I must say. My handwriting is pretty good. It's not like amazing, but like compared to like your classic like man handwriting, it's pretty good. Proof, I mean, it's not gonna be perfect, but I can show you how I write. Like I just write like that. Hey skis. That's how I write. Just like smaller, I guess. But it's like cursive. Prove it by writing down your SSN. You guys can have my social security number when I'm on my last legs. I'll let you guys know what it is. I'm decent at drawing. I have a couple, let me see if I can find them. I tweeted these out a long time ago. This is like early Overwatch League. I like drew some shit. Those bored as fuck. Oh my god. I have like no media on Twitter. It's so easy to find things from a long time ago. December, what is it, from 2017? Yeah. Oh, here it is. I'm not like an actual good drawer, but that's like, I just like used references and drew things off of my references. My Pluto owns in that though. It's pretty good. Oh. I'm sure no one's getting social security checks at that point. The government's already trying to minimize as many people as possible that get stim checks. So. That's the new sense. I was trying. So I'm on 0.47. I was trying 377 with this mode. I'm kind of interested in doing it again. I was just challenging myself as much as possible with like 1.2 800 source sense on this one, which is like definitely lower than like what's advisable if you want to grind the leaderboard. But it like gives you like a nice I don't know, it just like teaches you how to use like low sense a lot better, just by like forcing you to pick up your mouse a lot and like use parts of your mouse pad that you wouldn't be using before. But right now I'm just on 4.7, so val sense. What sense do I write with? Writing is actually a really easy way to aggravate your wrists. And it's pretty much all just through like tensing up your wrist more than you should be. Yeah, I was using 4.7 in Valorant for a while. I don't know, it's okay. The problem with like me using high sense in Valorant for me is like just knowing the entire time that like I would probably just, it just makes way more logical sense for me to not be doing that. So like I always wind up like switching. The problem for me when I'm using like a sense like that in Valorant is that all the easy kills are significantly harder than they would be on low sense. Like shooting somebody in the side of the head or like shooting someone that you're behind or whatever is so much harder than if you were using some like really low sense or whatever. So it's, I don't know. I think like to really effectively use the sense that high in Valorant, you need to be a duelist pretty much. You need to just constantly be peeking and like using your abilities to get out scot-free if you need to. It's like Jet, for example, is like a great use of high sense because you can just take some like really wide peek, just run out, aim real quick, and then if you miss, you just dash away or whatever. Reyna, like you just run out, you aim real quick, you get the kill, you dismiss away or you heal yourself. Like the heroes, like it's like smoke heroes especially, and like sentinels that are like really playing like a lot more passively, just holding positions. It just makes way more sense to just use a low sense. Dude, this thing really just jumped over my head like that. But I don't know, that's always like how I think of games, which is like really a blessing and a curse, I think. Like, I always think of it probably way too analytically. Like, really, like, what's the point of me using like anything higher than like, you know, just your classic low sense in that game? Which, I mean, makes sense to me, but is also just like effectively useless to think about because like the percentage that you would be better or worse based on just, or compared to, you know, just like how comfortable you feel on a certain setting is probably not too much. So like even if it makes more sense to use something specific, if you're not comfortable on it, you don't want to, you know, you don't feel confident on it, it seems pointless. I try aim lab. Aim lab's okay. I just think it's like, I don't know. I think it has way fewer scenarios I'd ever want to play. And I feel like all of like their peaking scenarios are just stupid. Like all of like the peeking wall killing bot like that shoots rockets at you like Valorant scenario thing is just like what am I even playing, man? Like the head hitboxes are huge. Like you get extra for always hitting the head when like in a lot of situations you don't even really have to. I don't know. It's just not. It's very hard to like take a 1-to-1 and put it into a game, which is why I've been like waiting for Valorant to actually add like a good deathmatch system because nothing outvalues just like joining a DM server and just playing for an hour straight. Like it's just so valuable and you like just can't do it in Valorant. But yeah, I don't know. I've messed with some aim lab stuff. That what really pissed me off about aim lab early on was that it was like just buggy and it wouldn't save your scores. Like I remember on pretty much like the aim lab equivalent of this mode, just like the ball that moves like I would say significantly slower than this one moves. Whatever the fuck it's called, like sphere track or whatever the fuck. I was easily, at least from what I saw on the scoreboard or on the leaderboard, I had the best score. Maybe there were other people whose scores they weren't saving as well as mine, so like they just were ahead of me or whatever, but at least from what I saw on the leaderboard, I had like the highest score. I'd like 136k or something. I have it like saved in my pictures. And at that point in time, nobody else had like 136k. Now I think like there's some animal with like 160k or something. But regardless, I had a really, really good score and they just didn't save it. And no matter how many times I got the score, like an equivalent score or like a similar score, it just literally never saved it. So I started taking pictures and like that's how I showed what my score was on AimLab. I was like just tweeting them out and I was like, hey, look at my score on AimLab. Please save my score. And they just never did. So I think that's fixed now. Last time I played it, I think it saved my score. It was like 118k or something. But I've given up trying on that. They've lost my trust, so. Back to kovaaks. Yeah, the aiming that I made along the way. You know what is really weird to me about TF2DM is why the fuck it's so bad. Like I saw a post on TFTV where somebody was like, why don't we just make like DM servers like really big servers with like 16 people in it? And I quite literally have no fucking idea, because that's such a better idea to just have the entirety of process just be actual DM and you spawn all over the map just based on where other people are on the map and there's like 16 people in the server shooting each other. That's like so much better than just 4 people running around on teams with each other. So like if it's like technically possible, it would be 1,000 times better. Like I hate DMing where there's only 4 people on each team and it's like 3 scouts and like 1 soldier versus, you know, 2 soldiers and 2 scouts, and like the team with 3 scouts is just fucking straight rolling the whole time. I don't know, it's just dumb. It should just be like a huge server where it's just straight FFA, there are no teams, and you're playing with like 16 people in the server. My kovaaks sense, 0.47 Valorant, 1.5 800 source. A few servers where it's FFA. That's pretty cool. It should always be like at least FFA. So there's like 8 people shooting each other instead of just like 4 people shooting 4 other people. But they should just make the whole map like a DM map. Just make the maps bigger, make the servers bigger. And then people can just join like the DM server. And it's like you're joining like a CSDM server where you're just spawning all over like the entirety of process, just fighting people. Because I mean, like, you are losing like map knowledge, or like, not that it really matters for someone like me. Like, I don't give a shit. But like, if you're trying to get better at TF2, you are losing like map knowledge just DMing entirely on process middle instead of like, you know, doing like weird cheese movements on like all the different doors pushing process last. Like, I don't know. Yeah, what a big sneeze by the cat. I came to TF2 from Overwatch. That is the weirdest story I've ever heard in my life. I have never heard of that happening. It's actually really weird. There were so many TF2 players in early Overwatch. Fucking crazy how many of the players that were like top players were TF2 players. Like Tvik, Taimu, me, Enigma, Seagull, Mezer, Dummy, Harb, Pine, Jake. Numlocked. Yeah, super. A lot of them were like in Jake's and Super's case, like they were never like invite players or whatever. I think like Jake played like one season of like invite, like Showstoppers team or some shit. But there were like a lot of like the highest level TF2 player you could be, and they're all in Overwatch. Fuck. Oh, Shadowburn, yeah, Shadowburn. MG Mike. My reaction time? I don't know. Like somewhere from like 160 to 180. If I could consistently hit good percentage on these things when they went over my head and I had to like hit them when they were falling down, I would beat my record. I don't know. I feel like reaction time tests are really hard to like they're a really hard judge of like your actual reaction time, like effectively in game. Like based on what mouse you use, like the clicks are always different speeds. Based on like how you hold your mouse, it's like different, you know, like you can like hold your mouse like this, and if you like hold it like more like claw-ish, like I feel like there's a lot of faster pressure on the click as opposed to if like you have your fingers flushed on the mouse, like you just aren't quite as fast. Like there's so many, I don't know, it's just like a really weird way of like people love to like flex their reaction times. I just don't really understand. I see people like advertise like their reaction times like in their fucking in their fucking like Twitch titles when they're like streaming Valorant. And it's like, first of all, bro, if you average 120 millisecond reaction time, I'd love to see video proof of that. Of you like literally over and over and over again doing 5 different reaction time tests where you average something around 120. And if you average 120 millisecond reaction time, why are you not the best player in the game? Like, you must be the dumbest person ever if you like have a 120 millisecond reaction time and you can't be like one of the best players in Valorant. You'd literally have to be stupid. Like, if you were utilizing reaction time that quick every single time you got into a gunfight, you would win the vast majority of gunfights in the game. Because most people have like, I don't know, like the average for like a gamer, for like someone who dedicates their life to playing and they're doing it on like a nice monitor with a nice mouse, whatever, I don't know, I'd say something like 180, 190. And there's no fucking way you would be losing any of those gunfights if you actually had like a consistent like 120 millisecond reaction time. Like, that's fucking ludicrous. Unless that's like a monitor thing, that's like, unless like they have like a 360 hertz and like for some reason it's like so much faster, then like it's almost impossible that you have that reaction time consistently. Yeah, Riot shit servers, they just don't update fast enough for me to use my 120 millisecond reaction time. It's fucking, it's simple. It's simple. The tick rate is just too slow. Is 240 hertz worth it? I mean, yeah, if you have the money to throw around, I would say so. I mean, it's significantly better than 144. They should be getting cheaper probably with like 360 hertz monitors coming out. I don't really know how like available those are though. Dude, my accuracy was so much better that time. Yep, that Riot one's legit. Yeah, I actually completely forgot about that. I'll probably play it. Based off of Rising Thunder. Yeah, some of the melee players seemingly have like really high reaction times. Although I do wonder, like, it wouldn't surprise me if like a really good tech chaser in like, I don't know, in melee, if you gave them like my mouse and my monitor, like, it wouldn't be surprising to me if there was like a minimal difference in reaction time. I feel like people like that are just really good. Like, they just notice certain animations, and they can read them a lot better than other people. Like, there's definitely like, you need a reaction time fast enough to do it, but I think people are just like really good at focusing on like keyframes where like people have certain like animations where, you know, it's like, okay, well, fuck, he made that movement, so he's gonna go that way or something, as opposed to just being like, I have a 120 millisecond reaction time. I'm a living god. You can't touch me. I definitely want to play the Apex 3v3 whenever that comes out. You're no psychologist? I feel like that would be a neurologist. Nerveologist. Yeah, definitely. We definitely react. I don't know, like there's so many different um there's so many different things that like constitute your skill set in certain video games. Um and I think it's really interesting. Like that's why like I always foresee a world where like video games and like player profiles, stats, like when you break it down on specific game, like advanced stats, would be a really cool future. Um, I always forget the beginning of my sentence. I feel like these aren't real sentences. But like just compared to like the NBA, for example, like I think video games could like, especially games like Valorant, could have so many advanced stats to them. Um, and it would be really cool to see that develop over time. Um, but you can also break it down just like, you know, based on like how good you are at tracking things with your eyes compared to reacting to certain things, how steady your hands are. Like all those things are like really, really cool. Little stats that I feel like are just like esports is just not nearly big enough to utilize or track things like that. But it would be really cool, I think. Like just having like a combine of like, oh, these are like the up and comers. Like this guy got, you know, when he sat down in front of a computer and he put on like a headset and they made him track a ball, he, you know, tracked it to this percentile or something, like cool shit like that. Because they were trying to do that with Overwatch League, not like Blizzard themselves, but there were like companies here and there that were like, you know, like trying to like build like, you know, ways for esports players to like just kind of practice their own just like their overall like 3D awareness and like peripheral vision and like reaction time and stuff. I feel like it has a place in esports, but it's just not big enough and the right opportunity hasn't rolled around. Oh yeah, no, the methodology in sports is fucking crazy. The stats are insane and it's like really interesting to look at. Like I wouldn't really say I'm like a stats junkie. Like I don't really know how to do like all these crazy calculations and stuff, but I do find like the meaning of the stats very interesting. And I like to look at comparisons between players. Yeah, I've seen some of that in CSGO too. The video cards are actually just like the seemingly artificial scarcity of video cards is like insane. Like they never make enough. Like Nvidia comes out, it's like, here's our new 3070, and then it's out of stock for fucking months and months, and it's like impossible to buy video cards. And then when they come back in stock, they're like overpriced. Or you have to buy it third party, and you're paying like 200% of the price. It's like just a ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You would think with how big gaming has gotten, these companies would have like a better stock of video cards. Have I heard about Artisan? Why is all their stuff like out of stock or something? I've had one Artisan pad in my life. I don't know. Tyrong gave it to me in Overwatch League, and I can't read Japanese, so I don't know what it is. I think it's the Hien. But like when I look it up online and I compare the way it looks to like different mouse pads, like they all either look the same or not at all alike. Like I feel like they have different. There's probably like an older one that doesn't look the same anymore. So I have literally no idea which one it is. It was like okay. It was like sort of like cloth, but sort of not. It was like a material where if you like folded your mouse pad, it would like crease, you know? Um, it was okay. It was like a little bit too rough for me. Like rough for like my arm. I feel like it hurt when I played the game because it's like my arm is just constantly rubbing against this like sanded down structure surface. Is the word I was looking for. And I was like, this is kind of uncomfortable. Like I don't think it was that bad performance wise, but it was definitely really fast. But it just felt super uncomfortable. Yeah, literally just shaving my arm as I was playing it. It was like super uncomfortable. I wonder if like they all wear like performance sleeves when they use that mouse pad or something. Yeah, I mean, I might start getting into mouse. I've never really been into mouse pads because I've been so into mice that like I just feel like I have to choose one or the other because being super into mouse pads is also extremely expensive. It's like even the Logitech G, whatever the fuck it's called, is like $40 like for a piece of cloth, and then like the artisan pads are even pricier. So it's like if I'm buying like mice, then I mean I kind of want to just keep it at mice, even though they do go quite well together. I hurt when it just hangs in the air like that. Like, make up your fucking mind. Like, do something. You know what I mean? Fucking crypto miners, man. Oh, the GSR is terrible. I hate the GSR. I think it's awful. I'm using the Razer Gigantus V2 right now. This pad's pretty good. It's like a fast pad. Fast cloth pad. But yeah, no, the GSR is terrible. I would buy the GSR SE or whatever, the faster one. But not. I couldn't deal with the fucking GSR. I'm using the super light right now. You're about to move to the East Coast for a bit. Where are you moving? The East Coast is super fucking humid, bro. I think Shrugger has the extra phi or whatever. However the fuck you pronounce that. Whoever made that name, they have to be regretting it, right? Like, what the fuck is that? But I think Shrugger bought that mouse. Zertify. Does he like it? I don't know. He's like he changes all the time. Um, I think he's been rocking the G Pro wireless recently, or the Viper. New Hampshire. I've never been to New Hampshire, but I'm sure it's very similar in humidity and weather to New Jersey. So yeah, it definitely gets humid. It's nothing like that, 85-degree East Coast summer where it's like 85 degrees but like 100% humidity. It's pretty dope. Sure makes it nice to go outside, you know? I actually wonder what it's like for everybody that grew up on like the West Coast. Cause like summers are just unbearable. Like I remember like growing up in Jersey, it's like you wait for the summer because then you go to like the beach and stuff and it's like cool, the beach. but it's so fucking humid that like if you're just like in somebody's backyard, like you want to play frisbee, you go to the park, whatever it is, you're like fucking just drenched in water, and there's like fucking the bugs are all over you, like so many more bugs than there are in like California or whatever. Just bugs like eating you alive as you're like dripping in sweat. It's awful. And then like I think about like what it's like to live on the West Coast and like celebrate like I don't know the 4th of July in California, which I've never done. Like I for whatever reason we like never really put together like a 4th of July party when I was living there. Um, but I imagine it's just 50 times better because you're like when I celebrated the 4th of July, I'm just like in somebody's backyard, just sweating buckets, uh, and it's awful. So like I don't know. West Coast got cicadas. I don't think so. I mean, I've never seen them. That's another plus to the West Coast. Yeah, no. Pretty much all of the East Coast is pretty Kekona, to be honest, in weather. Yeah, I mean, I'm in the Midwest right now, and it's like pretty much the same. It's just dog shit weather, absolute dog shit, and it's not even like simply because it's cold. Like I don't even mind the cold that much, but once it gets warm, like it sucks because your respite from the cold is extremely humid, hot weather. So it's like you go through a really cold winter, and it like it's not the worst thing in the world. Like I don't really mind it that much, but you can't really go outside and enjoy the outside and go for a walk all the time because it's like 0 degrees, which sucks. But then like once it starts to get hot, it gets just humid as fuck, and then it's just unbearable. I remember my AC was broken here, for like a couple weeks in the summer, and it was just unbelievable. It was hell on earth. It was literally hell on earth. We had like a little fan that did effectively nothing. And I've never been more uncomfortable in my life. I live in Chicago in summer in an apartment without AC. That should be illegal. Chicago is hella nice though. I think downtown Chicago is one of the cleanest cities I've ever seen in my life. It is like absurd. It's like pristine. It like sparkles. It's absolutely crazy actually. Like you compare that to like Times Square, and it's like pretty much all of downtown Manhattan is nowhere near as clean as Chicago. And there are just significantly less people compared to New York City. So, yeah, that helps too. Yeah, definitely not. I will definitely not be going to Valordium. Oh yeah, Lake Effect is awful actually. Yeah, I mean New York City is pretty dirty. I really like New York City though. It's probably a bias thing, but I'm a big New York City fan. It's just way too expensive to live there. New York City is a fucking city, man. Like if there's one thing I noticed from moving all over the country is that people are so proud of their cities. They're not real cities, man. Like even like Chicago is nice, Seattle's nice, Those are like some of the only cities that I would put on par with like being like a smaller Manhattan. But it's like Houston, Dallas, LA is like not even close to being the same. They're like they're not. I mean, maybe I've never been to San Francisco, but I imagine San Francisco to be very similar. It's like a densely populated city, but these other places, it's very it's very funny because like whenever I like moving away from Jersey, I had like an idea in my mind of like what a city was like. Cause I'd never really been to like other cities in the United States. Like I've been to other states, but like not necessarily like Chicago or like LA or whatever. So I just have like, like the idea of New York City in mind when I was like going to these places, and I was like, wait, what the fuck is this? Like, this is like a suburb. Like, there aren't even tall buildings. What the hell? My accuracy is just so bad when these things are right above my head. I think it's because I can't really tell what it's doing above my head. Like, I can never tell the direction it's going. LA Korean food is really good, yeah. I can't really eat a lot of Korean food though anymore. Like I used to love Korean barbecue, but I don't eat meat, so it feels like it's lost a lot of its luster. I really like bibimbap. I've always been a really big fan of bibimbap. Is chicken stock? No. I use veggie stock. I will agree. Like LA food is really good. I mean, like pretty much any city has really good food. Like New York City food's really good too. It's also like kind of a travesty that you can only get cheap pizza in like New York City. Like it's kind of unbelievable. The overall price of pizza in these other places, whether it be like in the city or like just like in a random like smaller city in whatever state you're in, the pizza is just like ludicrously expensive. You get like a medium pie that's like actually pretty small, and it's like $20, please. And it's like, what? You go to New York City and you buy like a gigantic slice of pizza for like $1. Like, how, like, what? Even in Jersey, I feel like the pizzas you buy from just like your local pizza chain is significantly cheaper than like every other state I've been pizza wise. That's like a big plus for New York City. Thoughts on deep dish? I don't hate deep dish, but it's like not like pizza. I wouldn't even consider it pizza. It's just like cheese soup. I don't think it's bad. Like I've had it before. I don't think it's bad, but it's like not you. Like when people compare it to like New York City pizza, it's literally like comparing apples and oranges. It's like completely different. Like one is a pizza, yeah, and the other is a casserole. I actually really started liking Detroit style pizza, which I've never had until living in the Midwest. It's just really good. Like, I don't know, like something about the crust is just so good. The fact that Chicago style pizza is better known than Detroit style pizza is a travesty. Because one is pizza and the other one really isn't. Dude, I'm like one like inch behind this thing constantly. No, it's, I mean, I don't know if that's actually what it is, but when I get it from my Detroit style place here, it's like, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of like Sicilian, but the crust is like very different. It's like they do something, it's like glazed crust or something, so it's like a thick pizza with the crust being a very certain texture and taste, and it's really good. But it's not like soupy, it's not casserole, it's like just very doughy with like a certain, like something about the crust is different. I'm in Illinois, but I'm pretty far from Chicago, which is super far because the state is 100% corn, well, 99% corn and like 1% city. Pizza Hut has what? Detroit style? Yeah, I've been getting it from Jets. So, which I've heard somebody else talk about Jets recently. It's apparently the shit. I actually hate corn too. I like literally couldn't care less about corn. At least like in its corn form, I couldn't care less about corn. It's like something I get, like if I'm making a burrito, like I'll get corn, but I'm just like, what's the point? Like I get it for like whatever small nutritional value it has. No, I hate corn on the cob, especially. I hate corn on the cob. It's absolute dog shit. Like eating corn off of a cob is one of the worst things I've ever done. My parents, when I lived at home, would always make corn on the cob, and I have never eaten it. I was like, no, thank you. This shit sucks. Too much work for too little taste. Get the little stringy shit in your teeth. The corn doesn't taste good. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure they cooked it with butter. I don't know how much it was slathered in it, though. It feels like, at that point, it just feels like too much work. Like, I still feel like it's not worth the taste. It's a very Pennsylvania viewpoint of yours, though, Jacob. I must say. That is very Pennsylvania. My second least favorite state of all time. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, but again, like, there's no way I'd floss. Like, I mean, I would because I have to get it out of my teeth, but I would never eat it knowing that it had to floss afterwards. It's like, what's the point? You know what I mean? I don't know. I think of. I like to think of. Oh my god! I right clicked. I like to think of Pennsylvania as Ohio. To be honest, it's like bigger Ohio. It's actually just offensive. I do like asparagus a lot. Asparagus is pretty tasty. I mean, I don't know. Is Pennsylvania really that different from Ohio? It's like basically the same state, right? It's just one has Philadelphia and the other one has Cleveland. Which are, I guess, pretty similar cities, to be honest. What's up, sheep? See, like, is that like, do Pennsylvanians like not like Philadelphia? Like, what's the like, what's like the city for people that live in Pennsylvania? Pittsburgh? Isn't Pittsburgh like a troll? Isn't Pittsburgh just Cleveland? Everything's just Cleveland, man. Scranton. Hmm. Yeah, well, that's not good. I really don't want to get mugged. What's up, Macy? It's all right. You know, I'm very fickle with sensitivities. I don't know. Whenever I think of Pennsylvania, I literally only think of Philadelphia. So I guess that's just like an outsider thing. Like I honestly forget that Pittsburgh's in Pennsylvania. Because to me, Pennsylvania is just the Poconos and Philadelphia. Like there's Philadelphia, and then when you go west or like north, I guess, you reach the Poconos, and then nothing else exists in the state. And then there's like the Penn State campus, I guess, or whatever. State College, whatever. It's a white man D9. Yeah, Amish country. I don't know. I feel like New Jersey's the weirdest state ever because it really does not have like an. It has like a very small identity, and that's only if you live like on the shore. Otherwise, you're just like an enclave of either New York City or Philadelphia. And honestly, if you live on the shore, you're more of like an enclave of New York City anyway. Like no one who lives on the shore has like pretty much any, I mean, at least what I've noticed, has like minimal association to Philadelphia. So like for people like me, like I don't like South Jersey. And then as a result of Philadelphia being associated with South Jersey, I don't like Philadelphia. That tends to be what it's like. Nasty beach full of crap. Yeah, I mean, beaches, I don't know. We have a lot of beaches, but I wouldn't say that they're very nice. The Atlantic Ocean, just in general, is not desirable. It's like just gray. It's like no waves. Like really small waves and just gray water. You're like, I mean, it has like a nice aesthetic. I like the aesthetic of like a cloudy day with like a lighthouse and like, you know, gray water. But it's, you know, it's far from like rocket power type beaches. Yeah, being an Uber driver could definitely be very scary, for sure. See, that's so funny, too. Like the people that live in the Midwest, they call like their lakes beaches. It's absolutely adorable. They're like, you want to go to the beach, and they roll up to the lake. Uh, gets me every time. It's so funny. I mean, the beaches. I kind of agree. I hate sand. But I do really like looking at like the water, you know? So it's like you gotta take the sand and deal with it. Cause I just like sitting on the beach as long as it's not too hot, cause then you just get like sunburned and you're just like, I'm dying. I'm slowly killing myself. But sitting on the beach like in moderate weather and like reading or something, or like, you know, listening to music and just like looking at the ocean is really cool. But like getting sand all over the place just kind of sucks. The lakes lakes gross me out too. Like as gross as I think the Atlantic Ocean is, like I can't even imagine going in a lake. Like what is even in there? Can't be clean. Do fish even survive in that environment? Yeah, yeah, I don't know. The ocean just in general grosses me out. Like being in it, just because I know that other people have been in that very small like square footage of water. It just kind of grosses me out. Um, but I think it's really cool to look at. I gotta start being more accepting to Pennsylvania. I've never been to any of like the Great Lakes actually. I'm sure it would be nice to visit. I just didn't really have to as a kid because I had like an ocean or whatever. You know? It's like a really big lake or whatever. Blue. Wait, what do you mean? Are you talking to somebody else? Blue whales are really cool though. The like the wildlife that lives in the ocean is really cool. Can't really say I'm too amazed by the wildlife that lives in lakes. I feel like it's just mainly fish. I mean, I guess alligators can live like around lakes in Florida. I don't know. I don't talk about Florida. That's my number one least favorite state, I think. Actually, I think Texas and then they're at the very least tied. Florida and Texas. Oh, what the hell is that? The photoshopped? How's that thing so big? The fuck? What's wrong with Florida? It's the worst. Florida is where like all old people from New Jersey go to retire when they're like 60 years old. And it's like everybody's favorite vacation spot, even though the weather sucks. I think I actually dislike Texas more though, because Texas has its own like weird like they have like their own fetishization of their state that I feel like doesn't exist anywhere else. Especially because like Texas is so diverse. Like Austin might as well just not even be in the same state as like Dallas. I think it's just a very different vibe. It would be like if someone from New York City like just loved the shape of New York State. And they were like, this is where I live. It's like not even close to the same thing. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, there's some of that in California, but at least it's like very like California is like by all standards like a pretty good state. I mean, regardless of like how expensive it is to live there, it's like, you know, at least within the scope of the United States, like a good, it's like very forward thinking. So like the fetishization of it is like, it's not only acceptable, I feel like, compared to Texas, it's also just like all the cities are sort of like within that same like forward thinking vibe in California. But not only are they very different in Texas, I don't know, that a very strange state to be like proud of, I think, politically. So it's always weird to me when people from Texas think it's like the best thing since like sliced bread. They're like, oh my god, I could never live anywhere else. I've been to Austin. Austin's pretty nice. It's definitely a very different vibe. A lot of really good internet there too. They have fiber, so. I mean, like I feel, but like once you're actually in tech, you don't understand what it's like to be in Texas, because like I think every state kind of like fetishizes its shape. It's like everywhere. Like even in New Jersey, like it's a very interesting state shape. So like you'll see it in different places, but you cannot top the amount of Texases you'll find in Texas. It's truly unbelievable. Like you can walk on Texas shaped cobblestone in Texas. In Texas, you can walk on cobblestone the shape of Texas. And like you like walk into like a bowling alley or something, or like a diner, and like they're just hanging a flag of Texas. Like not even just the flag, but also like oftentimes the shape of the state. It's literally all over the place. Like I've never even seen like I like from New Jersey, like New Jersey's like the diner capital of the United States. Like there's a million diners in Jersey, and I honestly feel like I've never seen a flag of Jersey anywhere in any diner. You know? It's just really like not until you've like walked in the Houston Outlaws, somebody from our org, when we were furnishing the house, bought a Texas table. There is a Texas table, which is like the worst shape for a table. Like, what's the point of that? Make it square. You're just losing out on space. You gotta like put it on like the tip of the state. It's so stupid. Yeah, no, that's all they talk about is like, well, in Texas. Everyone like from Texas thinks too that they're like that people move to Texas because like it's the best or whatever. Like they love like thinking like they love the idea of like people from California moving to Texas, or they hate that idea, but they like think of it as like, oh yeah, they're moving here because they hate California and Texas is just so nice. It's like they're moving there because you punish your own citizens with a lack of a state tax. And there's no like it's a small cost of living. That's why they're moving there. They don't care about like the fucking vibe of the state. Like they just want to move there because it's cheaper, because for some reason it's illegal for you guys to not pay a state tax. It's like unbelievably weird. And it's like, oh yeah, I'll just live there. And they think that it's like deeper than that. I'm like, oh my god. Proof California sucks? They all want to move to Texas. Like, yeah, well. You love diner food? Yeah, diner food is pretty good. I agree. I used to love going to diners. I was like my shit. Like every single time it was really late at night, like midnight or something, and my friends and I were hungry, we would just go to a diner because like they're either open 24/7 or like until like 2 or 3. Oh shit. I think diners might have lost some of their luster though once going vegetarian. I feel like their vegetarian food is not very good. It was usually the chicken or like the burgers that were the actual good parts of diners. Though I guess omelets are pretty good, um, if you're not like vegan or whatever. I really love. Uh, I really like breakfast food, but I don't like breakfast food for breakfast. Like I don't like pancakes and waffles for actual breakfast. It like is way too heavy and it makes me feel like shit. Um, but that kind of food at like midnight when you're like starving is unbelievably good. So sometimes this mode just pauses itself, I feel like. Like I definitely didn't do that. In Rutgers, they used to have this thing called like the midnight breakfast, spelled midnight, like from fucking medieval times, because haha, that was like our, school mascot. Um, but it was like on a certain day, like close to finals, I think it was. They would like open the cafeteria like pretty much like all night long or like until like really late in the morning. And they would just serve all breakfast food. And kids would just go there and study and like eat pancakes and waffles and shit. Yeah, it was so good. Just like the worst types of like breakfast food too. Like back when I like ate meat, like I would just eat like those like breakfast sandwiches, like the fucking little bagel shaped things with like ham and like one slice of egg and cheese on it. It's like the worst quality ever, but it tastes so fucking good. Peace out, Tish. You used to go so hard on kovaaks. Yeah, I go relatively hard. I mean, I don't really like. I usually just find a new scenario and then like I try to get as good as possible within a short amount of time, and then I usually just kind of like give up on it and stop caring. Like I did that on Thing Gauntlet. I think I'm like 60th or something on Thing Gauntlet. Um, but I just got sick of it so fast. Like I did it for like 3 4 days straight, and then I was like, eh. And then I moved on to something else, and now here I am. That sucks, man. You got to go super low sense. What is this thing doing? It's not the run. I've never used the sense randomizer. I've heard about it though. I've questioned using it, but I haven't really taken the plunge. Yeah, no, the bot just trolls the fuck out of you. Yeah, diner salads are pretty good. I'm a big fan of like unhealthy salads. I think unhealthy salads are so good. What I miss the most from LA actually is Porto's is like the best place in the universe. Like I've never been in like a cafe that has like more shit than Porto's ever in my entire life. It is like the perfect place I've ever been to. And they're like what was it? Maybe it was like Mexican style salad that I would get. It was something, but it was like beans and corn, avocado slices you could put in there. It was so good. And it was like just a big ass salad. And it would fill you up like a normal meal, but it was like mainly just, you know, veggies. It was insanely good. Oh, the line is unbelievably long at Porto's. I would go to the Porto's in Glendale like every single day. And yeah, the line was like insane. You become like such a pro at it though. You go in like the short line to get like the pickup, and then like you cut through the people to wait at the end of the line for your food. Express or whatever they call it. It was so good though. One of like the best places I've ever been to. Like their coffee is like phenomenal. All their food is really good. Phil's is so good. Like Phil's coffee is insanely good. Man, California has like the best shit. Pink's hot dogs. Interesting. I only ever saw a Wiener Schnitzel at in LA. It was like across. There was like a Wiener Schnitzel like across the way from the Burbank Studios for Overwatch League. Have I tried binding my fire button to a keyboard key? I haven't. I mean, not really. I mean, like I've done that before, just like trying to mess around with my settings, like when I played other games a lot, like Quake, to try to like aim or like to press with spacebar. But I try to keep it as like 1-to-1 with like actual games I'll be playing. Like I'd never play like Valorant or like fucking Apex with like spacebar to shoot or something. It would definitely help though, for sure, for situations like that. Or like this. I feel like it's really bad to do that though for like you can pretty much only LG in Quake. I would argue better with that. I feel like all your other guns suffer a lot from not having a shoot on the mouse. Like rails, I can't imagine like how hard it is to be consistent with that. I feel like it's really only good for guns that just shoot constantly, so you just adjust your mouse instead of having to like coordinate a movement and a click at the same time. Especially because like mouse clicks are like designed for that now. Like the latency on mouse clicks are like designed for guns like railing, like, you know, shooting rifles and CS and Valorant. So to not have that ease of access for like things like rails and even rockets seems pretty difficult. Well, I suppose you could always get used to it. Dude, this thing has been going left forever. In and out style, huh? That's kind of interesting. Yeah, I'm sure I could, given enough time, switch there, but I don't know. I suppose keyboards have very fast clicks these days as well. Dude, this fucking thing. This is the worst. That's so fucking annoying. Yeah, I mean, I'll probably beat the score if I load it up tomorrow. Like, I've only played this. I just started playing this today. So, I feel like it takes really like a day for everything to kind of settle. Like, the learning curve of anything is actually so annoying. There's like so much like dead time of practice, it feels like. Because like you need that like day or that period of rest to really like internalize the things that you've learned and like whatever. I'm also like not really trying that hard right now, I guess. Like I'm more like talking to chat and shit, which is like a huge inhibitor on, yeah, just land on my head. I'm on like 4.7 Valorant, so like 1.5 source. I don't really, I mean, if I really wanted to like maximize my score, I would just jack my sense up probably to like 2.1 source or something like that. Like something where I have to pick up my mouse as few times as possible, but still have enough control to be on it as much. But I feel like I don't really care to use a sense like that in other games, so there's no point. I mean, I did the same thing with like before I changed my sense. It was at like 1.2800 source, like 0.377 Valorant when I was doing this mode. Like I'm never really trying to like, you know, get the best possible score or like rise. I just want to like personally beat my own score just based on my own settings. Because it feels like I'm actually learning more and getting better as opposed to just climbing the ranks or whatever. Peace out, Macy. I will conquer the sense. I mean, I change my settings all the time too, but I think it's just really it's more like pointless to me to change your settings based on like kovaaks scenarios than anything. I mean, changing your sense in like whatever game you're trying to play like competitively is whatever. I mean, people do that all the time, and I think there's pretty much no downside as long as you give yourself enough time to like work the muscle memory back up. But yeah, I'm very known for like changing my settings literally all the fucking time. But it's just more pointless to me to change based on kovaaks scenario. Like I've pretty much never changed my sensitivity to get better at a specific scenario because it's like, what's the point? Like for like thin gauntlet, like I could just jack my sense like as low as possible so I can be like as accurate as possible on like the super thin ones. But then it just feels like what's the point? It's like one of my ideas for like one of my next YouTube videos I make is just sort of like breaking down like how to use kovaaks to get better at like a specific game you're trying to get better at, or like kind of just like working on your sensitivity that you use in a specific game, and like really just like comparing your scores just to like really yourself, and like maybe keeping like a log. I guess this game does that for you now. in stats or whatever. It shows you like what score you got with what setting. And it's just like best to like just check that setting and be like, okay, so I got this score with like, you know, 1.5800, which is like what I want to use in Valorant. You know, so like, so my score is maybe I'm rank 3000, you know, with like 0.47 Valorant sense. I know that's the sense I want to use in Valorant. Maybe in like scenario X, if I like lowered it or raised it, I would get a better score in that scenario, but it's like pointless. I should really just like work through the kinks of the sensitivity and like utilize more of my mouse pad and like learn how to pick up my mouse more and like learn all the micro movements more, even though, you know, I could get a better score by like changing it and catering my sense to like whatever, you know, scenario I play. Which I feel like a lot of people do in kovaaks because like it's so natural to do it. It's like you look at like the top scores and you're like, dude, fuck, man, like I should just change, like, you know, I gotta get a better score than this, so like let me change my sense. And it's like you're kind of just like, I mean, that works if the only thing you give a shit about is kovaaks, but like if you're just like a novice player who plays Valorant and you feel like your aim isn't good and you're like, oh my god, like I get shit on in quick play all the time and like people talk about kovaaks, so I came to kovaaks to get better at it. I feel like people like that are very prone to just like look at whatever setting or like whatever scenario they're playing and be like, okay, well, look at how thin this stupid fucking beam is. Like, let me just jack my sense super low. And it's like, if you really want to stick around a certain whatever you call it, range, then you should just stick to that range no matter what scenario you're playing. Like this one especially, I think is actually super close fast strafes invincible. Let me write that down or something. I'll keep that. I like to like go and see all these new because like I really don't play kovaaks that much. So if I get bored of this tomorrow, I'll check that out. But anyway, like if you're using like a low sense for this one or something, it actually teaches you a lot about like how to reset your mouse. Like the actual movements of this stupid fucking bot are pointless. Like you're never gonna walk into a game where like this bot is doing like spins around your head like a bat, you know? But like just playing against that, like with like, I don't know, if you use like 0.33 or something in Valorant, like a low sense, it just teaches you like how to use corners of your mouse pad that you wouldn't be using before. It teaches you how to like pick up your mouse and move it really quick to adjust targets, because you're gonna have to do it constantly in this mode. So like there's like a lot of value of just like sticking with whatever sensitivity you want to play in like whatever game, and just letting like the scenario like work its magic for you instead of like trying to cater your sense to whatever scenario you're playing, which I feel like, I mean, naturally that's what like people who actually play kovaaks do. Like this is their esport, I guess, you know? So like they're gonna change based on whatever scenario they're playing, but I feel like there's a lot of hidden value for just using this to level up your game in whatever game you're playing. Jesus. I mean, I think you can easily. I used to be a really big proponent of like never changing your sense across like classes in TF2, for example. But I mean, I don't really think it matters. Like that was just sort of like very old school thinking. I think like as long as like you're very consistent with the different sensitivities you use per hero, I don't really think it matters all that much. Like you just get used to it, and like oftentimes you have to. Like if you're a certain person that uses like one extreme, I think BQB is a good example actually. BQB is like fucking sick in Overwatch. I used to love watching that guy, but he has like a super low sense for like, I don't know, like pretty much every hero in the game except for like Genji, where he like raises it a lot, and then like Tracer, he raises it a little bit, and you like kind of have to. You can't like, you know. Team Fortress 2 Fort. No, I haven't tried. I just like got sent those actually. Like Shrugger sent those to me earlier. People have been like coming in and asking me about. Like I don't even know what the fuck that is. I still haven't checked it out. Um, is it just? I don't know. I'm just gonna look at the Google Doc instead of asking. But yeah, I've had a lot of people ask me what if I've done that, and I have not. But I'll check it out. What kind of grip do I use, or does it change? I pretty much try to palm everything. Uh, so as long as like the mouse is big enough, I'll just full palm it. So like on like the G Pro, like I just have it like this, you know, just like a classic, just like just palming the mouse, like fingers flushed for the most part. If it's too small, I'll do like some kind of like hybrid thing where like I'm palming it as much as possible. Cankle King, dude, holy shit, bro. That is a fucking blast from the past. That's crazy. That's like another life, man. That's seriously like another life. Like I can't even like I can't believe that's like the life that I was once living. You know what I mean? It's like so long ago. It's crazy though. It's so long ago, bro. That's crazy. It's good to see you. When I palmed it, my fingers always rest against the left and right click buttons. Yeah. I mean, kovaaks is good for anything. Yeah. Like you just do it, you know? Like it just helps you with muscle memory. Damn, dude. The fact that people even follow me from TF2F or whatever is crazy. There are a lot of people from TF2 that I kind of like didn't cut ties with, but like just, you know, like mental, just like too many resources being allocated to too many things, and I just kind of like lose track of friends. You know, it's like that you can only have like 7 to 9 people in your circle or whatever before people start falling off. Like that happened to me so many times in my life where like I happened in TF2 or like when I left TF2F or stopped playing there. It happened like with old TF2 players once I moved to like Overwatch. Basically, I'm just super popular, Jacob, so just chill, bro. Even when I'm clicking? No, I mean, I don't know. I think mine pretty much just stay in the same spot. That's the one thing I liked actually about, what do you call it? The outset mouse that I even said in the review. It's like just having like the buttons be separate and like a very different texture like lets your fingers move a lot easier than like other mice. Like even a mouse like this, like I like this mouse a lot, and I can like see myself using this for like a very long time. Like I don't even like, this is one of the first times I've actually like I've gotten a mouse and I don't see myself switching anytime soon, which like normally that happens within like 2 days. But even a mouse like this, like the texture is the same like over the whole mouse, and sometimes it's a little bit hard to move your finger. I don't move mine, so it's not really like a big deal, but the outside is just like you can move your fingers around on the clicks like so easily, and they like slide around and glide around. The outset AX is the one I was talking about with the different clicks. Dude, I remember you pocketing me all the time back then. Did you talk to what's his name? Chuckles? Team Chuckles? Yeah, the outside is ergonomic. Um, the G Pro is like it's an ambi mouse, but I feel like it can be used in a very similar vein or in a very similar way to an ergonomic mouse. Damn, that's crazy. That's so long ago. I remember the number one thing I have associated with Team Chuckles is his fucking Smashing Pumpkins avatar. Yeah, I tend to like ambi mice a lot more now. I used to be like an ergo only player, but that's because I started gaming so long ago, and like the best mice were always the ergo ones, like using the Death Adder or like the MX518 or whatever, the EC2 when it came out, like all of the best mice tended to be ergo mice, so I kind of got used to it. But in like recent years, I've been putting a lot more time into getting comfortable with ambi mice because they seem to be like the wave and like the new popular mice out there. So even if like they're worse, even if I think they're worse, like there's just going to be more opportunities for me to use them because every like company is making ambi mice now. Like it took so long for like a new good ergo mouse to come out. Like the outset was like a really huge surprise because I haven't even, other than like the Model D and the Skull and like those differentiations, I haven't even seen like a good ergo mouse come out in such a long time. Set up a Discord when Among Us was popular. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. You know how to DM in Discord? Um, my Discord. Did I link my Discord? I guess you could DM on Twitch too. But how the fuck does anyone reliably fingertip grip? I have no idea. I like have never. I just realized like a while ago, honestly, looking at the way people aim. Like I was watching what's his name, RB from what are they called in Valorant? The best Korean team. I always forget. Vision Strikers. Like I was watching his like YouTube whatever, like highlights or whatever on YouTube, and he has like hand cam, and like he just like holds it very far back, and like when he wants to go up, he just pushes his fingers or like pinches down when he's trying to aim down. And I'm like, what? Like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And like, I didn't even realize that was like an option, which is like why it's so confusing to me too. Like, I guess like that's what like a lot of people who use like relatively high sensitivities do. They just not only do they hold with their fingertips, they have like extend them to like, you know, to like move up. It's just so fucking weird. I could never get into that. Peace out, Cankle. Yeah, no, I could never. The amount of time I need to spend to get used to that is not worth the time. Um, I pretty much have always palmed. I don't think I've ever not. I think the only time I had a different grip was when I was using the Death Adder when it first came out, when I was like first gaming, I guess, like first going to ESEA lands. I would like have my pinky like that. Like I would bend it, which used to actually cause like enough friction on the Death Adder to where like the rubber grip would fall off. Um, but yeah, I used to just hold it like that, but it was still palm. It was just like palm, but with just like my pinky bent a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of why I've always had like pretty consistent wrist health as well. It's because I've always palmed, so it's just super comfortable for me. And yeah, I don't know. It's definitely more restrictive, which is something I haven't even really thought about until recently. Just like how much better like having like fingertip control would be. But I don't know. I've grinded it for long enough that feels pretty natural to me. I can't do this anymore. My eyes are like fucking shot. the the trick to a healthy wrist is to not use it. I mean, I guess for like what the fuck? Where's my table so I guess for video games, yeah, but I feel like to get a healthy wrist in the first place, you have to use it like in real life enough to like build up like strength for it. Like I think a lot of people who have like wrist problems when they play games just have really like they don't use their wrist for anything other than gaming. So it's like just very like overall like weak wrist health, as opposed to like if you watch like I don't know one of the esports hand doctors that post videos, like you always have like little weights, you have like 5 pound weights that you go like that, or like you go like that, or like maybe you're just like a weightlifter in general. um it's like it really does help, like working on like forearm strength and shit. It really does help with like wrist strength and stuff. No, I haven't heard of them. I've tried. I mean, the way that like I held the Viper Mini was like sort of like scrunched up because I had to. Like I was trying to palm it, but obviously my hand is just way too big. So it was like palm where it like rests like at the very bottom of my palm, and then I would have my fingers like that. But I still didn't really use any of my finger tips or anything. But I think in general, like also what causes a lot of wrist pain is it's very similar to writing. It's like writing is like super fine motor control. So if you're somebody that uses just like a really high sensitivity that has to grip really tight on your mouse, it just kind of fucks with your wrist a lot. Like the more that you can incorporate like your shoulder and your arm into it to take some of the stress off your wrist, probably the better you'll be. Um, I would just be like put as much like work into having like healthy forearms and wrists and stuff. Like lift some weights, like just do something physical, and then just like incorporate like more arm and shoulder and stuff, and it'll probably not stress your wrist out too much. Like if I use like a lower sense, the only thing that I start to because my posture sucks so much is my shoulder will like get a little hitch in it, and it'll feel like a little bit fatigued because I'm like the way that I'm sitting, I'm just putting more pressure on my like my rotator cuff. But like I'd much like like that's really more just a posture thing that I can fix. And breaks definitely would help. Yeah, I mean I'm not a medical expert either, but some of this is just common sense. It's definitely not. It's fucking end stream soon time. I'm so tired actually. I got like such a small amount of sleep last night, and I've just been like tracking this fucking thing with my eyeballs like fucking all day. My eyes are just completely tired. Wish you weren't restricted by your desk. Oh, you have like a very crowded desk. Yeah, that's pretty fast. I don't know. I've never really gone. What's. I never know centimeters. I think the lowest I've ever really consistently used was like 24 centimeters, maybe. That's pretty much like the highest. Did I say highest? Fastest? Whatever. Here's the fastest I've ever been. But yeah, I don't know. I've never really gone. I'd prefer to go like if I were playing a game professionally, I'd prefer to go on the lower end than like the higher end. So I feel like when you're in like a professional environment, it's much easier to maintain like a really slow sense than it is a high one. I mean, I don't know. My go-to sense is probably like one like what I'm using right now for the most part. That or um like 1.2 800. So like I think it's like 43 centimeters or something. Somewhere between like 30 and 45 centimeters is probably like what I perform the best on. Which is another interesting thing. I mean, like, there's so much data that can go into like esports and like how to hold a mouse and like what your range of motion is, like how big's your hand, like what how long are your arms, are your forearms like particularly long? Like it changes like so much about it, like range of motion, shit like that. 1.35 source. Yeah, that's pretty good. So, oh, 1600 though. That's so fast. Yeah. I used 800 1.35 a lot. So, like, quite literally half of your sense. Yep. 38 centimeters. Feels right to me. Sounds right to me. What I used to use in Overwatch sometimes. I feel like in TF2 I never went lower than like 30 centimeters because the game was just easy mode. But for like other games that were more precise, I would definitely mess around with like 38 centimeters going into like the 40s and stuff. TF2 is just like easy mode though. I feel like you do literally anything in TF2 and it would work out for you. I seriously, I feel like I could go back into TF2 and play like 800 like point 0.8 or something, like some ridiculously like low sense, and I would be perfectly fine with it if I played Scout, that is. And I could on like the flip side, I could go to like 800 fucking 3 or something and be fine uh in TF2. It's just literally easy mode, bro. I guess it's just because I fucking have played it for so long. You don't think that's that low? 800.8? Is that like fucking like 60 centimeters? I don't even know. I feel like that's pretty low. 65 centimeters. That's low as fuck, bro. How are you talking about? Walter's sense is like 80 centimeters. I feel like I could do Walter's sense as well. $800.65. Yeah, that's low as fuck, bro. I mean, it's doable though. Like I'm telling you, like it's literally easy mode in TF2. You do whatever you want on Scout. Scout is like the most lenient I've ever seen, like for sensitivities across like games or whatever. It's like so fucking easy. Like you can go low and just concentrate on like shooting things in front of you and like getting like 100% accuracy on everything that's standing in front of you from like mid range. You can go super high and you can jump around in circles and spin in circles around people's heads. You can do like a medium. It's just you do whatever you want. It seems to be like you can't do wrong type thing. I think the only thing you could do wrong is like, I mean, obviously there's like a diminishing return at some point to the low sense. Like if you can't fucking if the entire mouse pad moves your screen 90 degrees, like obviously you're not going to play well. But the biggest problem I've seen is people actually going way too high in TF2. um, where it's like it's just their accuracy is like all over the place and like their mid-range game is awful. Like Scout is so much mid-range game, I feel like that's why it's like actually almost beneficial to have like a controllable sense at the very least, like a low enough one to be able to like constantly track things, because your mid-range game like sets up everything else in that game. Like if you're hitting things for the max damage you can from mid-range, then like everything else is just set up for you. Prosper's eye training 115 centimeters, well with mouse excel, so that's a little bit better. That's fucking crazy though. I haven't seen anything about eye training. That's interesting. Yeah, peripheral vision is actually a game changer. I did this like study one time where I was you're basically like taking you're like looking at a computer screen, and like there are like 8 orbs, or I don't know, some amount of orbs that are balls that are bouncing all over the walls and the ceiling and the floor, and there's like a 3D component to it, and like it shines like one highlights in the beginning, and then they all go all over the place like billiards, and you have to like track the one that got highlighted in the beginning, but they like bounce off of each other, and like they get occluded from one another. Like things go in front of the highlighted one, so you have to like keep a lot of track of it with your peripheral vision. And it was like actually really really hard for me. I don't think my peripheral vision is like I think that's like always been something that I'm poor at comparatively. Like I think my tracking, like my eye tracking for things like single targets that are moving is like phenomenally good, I think. But my peripheral vision has always been like one of my worst. What sense was I trying? I'm just on 0.47 800 Valorant, so it's like something like 34 centimeters or something. Kinetic vision, yeah, maybe. I don't know any of the um, I don't know any of the terminology for it, but I did another test where I was like, I don't know, I had something on like some headset type thing where they were just like tracking my movements, and I had to track like a ball or something. I don't know, just something, and it didn't move very fast or anything. It was just like sort of like just look at it as it goes across the screen, and like I got really good results on that one. Uh, so I think it just adds more to my theory that my vision for things that are like moving, just like singular targets that are moving, is really really good, but my peripheral is just not very good. So, and I don't know, I kind of feel that. I think like a lot of my aiming style actually in different games I've played, like I'll just do like a moment where I pause and like I'm just looking at nothing, like my crosshair's not even moving, and I'm like studying like what's around me, because it's like hard to keep track of that when I'm doing other shit. Wait, what's VRT? What is that? Oh, visual reaction time. I don't know. I think like the best scores I've ever gotten on reaction time tests is like 165 or something, like out of five. But it probably hovers from like, like 160 to 180 or like 160 to 190 or something. Generally, the at least from over the years. I mean, I've never really kept track of it because like you use like different mice and different monitors and shit that all like affects it over time. So I've never really like kept like actual track of it scientifically, but just over my years of doing it, it's always hovered around that range. Dude, I hate cuticles, man. Like fingernails are just the biggest scam. 135 is like actually fucking insane. I don't understand that. No wonder he was picked up. Yeah, for real, man. Try opening a beer with no fingernails. Wait, why don't you just use a can opener, bottle opener? I'm so confused by that statement. The fuck are you guys talking about? Just use a fucking bottle opener. You guys are like cavemen, like opening beers with your fingers. What's going on? What the fuck? Yeah, use your teeth, bro. Fuck, I was gonna say something, I don't remember. Oh, I actually learned recently that I'm left eye dominant too. I actually didn't even know. I didn't even know like eye dominance was like a thing. I had no idea. Like, I didn't even understand how eyes worked. I guess like now that I know what it is, like it makes sense and I understand what I've been seeing my whole life. You do the test by like I don't know. You just like oh shit, like create like a triangle or something and like put an object in it, uh, and keep both eyes open and then like alternate your eyes and then see which eye gives you the same image that you have when both eyes are open. So like if I have like I don't know like something in my kitchen in the triangle, if I am looking at it with both eyes, it's in, spot X. And then when I close my left eye, it moves to a completely different spot. Whereas if I close my right eye, it stays in that same spot. And that's like eye dominance. I think I think typically you're dominant in whatever eye you're dominant in your hand in. That was the worst phrase thing ever. Whatever hand dominance you have that similar eye dominance usually. Uh, but mine is different. I'm right-handed and left eye dominant. Did I used to hold my mouse at a weird angle back in I-46? I mean, I've always played like sort of at an angle, either because I had my keyboard on my lap, so like my uh, mouse pad was like in the center of my body or whatever, more in the center. Or now, like I kind of just put it there, and I have my keyboard off to the side, so it's always like it's like a weird angle, but it doesn't really matter. It's the same shit. Left-handed but right eye dominant. It's interesting. Yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like it actually, because like I don't know if you guys did this shit too, but like sometimes when I was just bored, I would just sit back, I just go like that, and I never even understood like what I was doing, like changing eyes, and I was like, oh, sometimes the objects move. That's kind of cool. I guess that makes sense. But it's pretty interesting, I guess. Like one eye holds like the visual, most of the visual information, I guess, and the other eye like adds like supplementary shit to it. Yeah, it's probably not that deep. If anything, I feel like it would be a disadvantage. Um, but who knows? Have I ever seen Zywu grip? No. I feel like the most boring mouse gripper in the universe. Like whenever I see like all these new gamers pop up, I'm just like, what the fuck's that guy doing? Like this guy's holding like his fucking mouse like he's doing like some type of martial art or something. And I'm just like I put my hand right on the mouse and I just play. Yeah, no, that's definitely I actually read about that. That it's like a disadvantage for people who do things like archery and like just shooting guns like a firing range. But it's also just something people don't understand because if you're like right-handed, you kind of just like assume like that the right half of your body is like just the best half. So like if you're taking like a picture with a camera, like a proper camera, everybody who's right-handed puts the camera up to their right eye. You know what I mean? But like it should be whatever eye is your dominant eye. So like you look at like the canvas and you're like, I want to take a picture of that, and then you have to hold it up to like your eye that's the actual dominant eye. But I feel like most people don't know what that is, so they like just hold it up to like whatever half of their body is the good half, and it typically or sometimes it just doesn't work out for them. The eye dominance test. So like so like make like a triangle with your fingers, and then like choose like some object in the distance to put in the triangle, and then look at that picture with both of your eyes open, or look at the object with both of your eyes open. If that object's in like spot X, close your left eye and see if it moves, and then close your right eye and see if it moves. So like whichever eye is the one that sees the same image as both eyes being open is your dominant eye. But yeah, if I ever use a camera again, now I know that I'm taking it with my left eye. So if your peripheral vision is bad, does that mean you have a lot? I mean, maybe. My peripheral vision is atrociously bad. Like when I used to play TF2, like back in like college, like I would always just like drink and play. Like I'd play pugs and I would like just, you know, we would just have like a night of it where like we're just like drinking like shots after every like pug or something. So like I would drink a lot, and yeah, so I was alcoholic. So my peripheral vision when I was drinking, like I didn't even have to be like wasted or anything, or like even like really drunk, but like my peripheral vision while intoxicated was straight up dog shit atrocious, which I'm sure is like the same for everybody. Um, like everybody who like is drunk has worse peripheral vision, but mine was just like so bad to where like I would just be in TF2 like running past somebody like right next to me, and then someone would be like, he's right fucking next to you. I was like, what are you talking about, dude? But like I would always feel like I never really got that much worse at aiming like on a single target. It wasn't really like that much worse. It was only like marginally worse. But my peripheral vision was just atrocious. It was so fucking bad. Yeah, I mean, I think that happens a lot too, but that's also just the fault, I think, of like either like the interp that like the spectator gets or like just the weird FOV. Like I think that happens all the time in Valorant. Like I've said that to other people like that I'm watching their death cam in Valorant or their cam after dying in Valorant, and I'm just like, there's somebody, you just saw him, like he just walked right by. And I don't know, it's probably like a combination of like interp as well as like that person is like allocating all of his like mental resources into playing the game and like holding an angle and being like, okay, something's going to come out of here, or like I have to make sure that something doesn't peek me from this side. So like if something just walks out of the right or left side, they just don't really see them. Where you do, because you're not really playing the game, so you don't really give a shit. You're just like taking a wide canvas of the whole screen. Oh yeah, that happens all the time with hearing too. I'm sure it's like the same thing. It's just like mental allocation, I think, mostly. And then there are probably some weird like sound bugs that aren't consistent across uh like the player and the spectator. But I think most of the time it's really just like your brain focusing too hard on the task at hand that you can't see things or you can't hear things as well as somebody else that's just like chilling. I was scrimming pretty consistently in Valorant. We had like a team for maybe a month and a half recently, but somebody on our team had to like call it quits at least for the time being. So we just kind of all like did our own shit, and like I think like my one teammate's like streaming now. He's just like streaming instead of playing. I don't know. It was just like a typical tier two like somebody had to do something, so I guess it's over. See you guys later, type things. But I haven't. I mean, I guess like up until that point, I was going pretty hard, but I haven't been doing anything particularly hard recently. But yeah, all right. I think I'm gonna take off for the night. I'm tired as fuck. Uh, Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. It was fun. A little chill sesh. I will beat my score tomorrow. If not on stream, then off stream. Yeah, thanks for watching. Peace out. Give me a follow if you're so inclined. If you hate me, then don't. I don't care. It's whatever, man. Um, See you guys later. Have a good night. And I will maybe be live tomorrow.